Greetings, everyone. You are tuned into the Trust and Believe Nomad Cast. I'm your host, retired Master Sergeant 20. So appreciate you guys tuning in, whether it's the visual or whether it's the audio, folks. So definitely appreciate the support and everything as this channel continues to grow. Today is the 9th of November, 2021, and I'm glad that you are here on this Tuesday. I hope this Tuesday is better than your Monday, and subsequent days continue to elevate and do all the things necessary to achieve your own personal greatness. All right, today on my opening remarks, I kind of want to piggyback off what we talked about yesterday with 6 ways to self-care. I thought that was very informative and some lessons that you can apply, that we all can apply in our life. And so this morning I was looking on Instagram, right? And it's a doctor. I want to make sure that I say her name properly. DRLUCYCHEN. She is a board certified dermatologist. And I guess she was on a panel, a skincare panel, if you will, a couple of days ago. And they was talking about the frequency that humans should shower. And some of the conversation led to how much gallons of water that we're wasting. We're trying to preserve water and all that. So her topic was a person should only shower two to 3 times a week. And she was asked why. So I want to make sure I quote this properly. This is a direct quote from her answer. When asked why should only humans shower 2 to 3 times a week, she stated, showering every day may be bad for your skin because it can remove essential oils and dry out your skin. Dryness can lead to eczema or skin inflammation, or make your skin red and itchy. Again, this is a direct quote from Dr. DRLUCYCHEN. She is a board certified dermatologist. I would tell you, in my own opinion, I believe that in order to have a productive day or just to be productive, there's certain prerequisites that you have to do. Let's start with the mornings, making the bed, meditating, prayer. But one of the key essential things that you should do in the mornings is take a shower. For one, it's good hygiene because you don't realize how much you sweat throughout the night. And 2, because it wakes you up. It kind of stirs the pot, if you will. No matter the weather outside, you get in that hot shower. And we talked about yesterday about going on runs and walks, and it kind of clears your head. You can formulate your strategies for the next day. I will tell you, getting in the shower, you will be able to think about things throughout your day, whether it's work or whatever it is, whatever the situation it is, paying bills or going to the store. You don't realize how much you think and talk to yourself in the shower. It's the ultimate think tank. It is. It really is. You can sit there. A lot of people say, "Oh, they singing in the shower." Other than singing, which I'm pretty sure some of y'all are great at singing, when you in the shower and you're thinking, you can formulate so many strategies and apply some of the things to your life and someone else's life. It's been so many times I've thought about things and made life decisions while taking a shower, right? And then that's in the morning to kind of wake you up and kind of get you going, put you in the good mood. And then when you come home from your work day, no matter your occupation, now you want to clean all that workday stress off. You want to clean all that workday negativity off and just be clean. So with her saying that, again, I respect her position. She's a doctor. She's went through school, 10 plus years probably just to get her degree or whatnot to be certified as a doctor. But you're not going to tell me that 2 to 3 times a week is going to work. And then she's talking about, well, the more you shower, you'll lose your essential oils. That's why they make moisturizer. That's why they make lotion. That's why they make baby oil. So you can find things to replace some of the oils that you lost in the shower. I tell you, it was times in the military. I had soldiers sometimes, man, them dudes didn't want to take showers to save their life. Look, man, you ain't going to be around me smelling like machine gun funk. Go get freaking clean. Now, in the military, I only can speak for the military folks. There are times where we can't take showers due to austere conditions, Spartan-like conditions, unimproved conditions. Get it, got it, understood. But there are ways to ensure that you do the appropriate things necessary to be clean, baby wipes or what have you, right? So unless you're in a situation where showers are not readily available, if you live in a house and you just, people are not taking showers based upon what the doctor said, hey man, to each his own. I'm just here to spread information, right? Good information, quality information. And that right there, I totally disagree with that. Again, I'm speaking from personal experience. I think it's better when you take that one in the morning, kind of recalibrate your mind, set the conditions for the day, which is very important. And then when you come home, it's almost like you're getting ready to start the next chapter of your evening. What you want to do, you want to get clean, you want to get fresh, you want to smell good. All that's a part of self-care. All that personal hygiene is all part of self-care, right? So again, I just thought that was kind of interesting that we could talk about on a opening remarks where this doctor, talking about people should only shower 2 or 3 times a day. And then she was like, well, and also we waste 300 gallons of water a day with showering. Okay, well, you can multiply that because I waste water all day. I like to be clean. Bump that, man. Forget that. So you can listen to doctors. If a doctor's telling you how to lower your heart rate, lower your cholesterol, lower your blood pressure, dock them all in. Tell me what I need to do. However, I ain't listening to no doctor telling me how much I should shower. I will get clean twice and even more times a day. Let me do me and you do you. All right. So appreciate it. Again, so I'm going ahead and transition to talking on a Tuesday. And I'm going to talk about the reason why I started this podcast, some of the things I've bought, some of the things I've bought for this podcast to facilitate this message and the reasons why and what's the end state, what's my intent. So I'll talk about those things on a Talking on the Tuesday. You're joining me on the 9th of November, 2021. Our next segment is Talking on the Tuesday, the reasons why I started this podcast. Stay tuned, stay locked. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Trust and Believe Nomad Cast. Glad you are here with me. And more importantly, I am glad to be here with you. All right. So in my opening remarks, I already set the table for what I was going to talk about today on Talking on a Tuesday. So I'm going to talk about the reasons why I started this podcast, Nomadcast, right? 4 reasons why I started this podcast, and it could be many more reasons why. I just wanted to pick 4. I thought these was probably the most important. These were the ones that definitely aligned with my thought process when I started doing this. And I just looked at a way to how can I've been influenced so much throughout the years, negative and positive. How can I be that influence where I could tell the negative stories? I could tell the positive stories, have them kind of intertwine and to come up with a life lesson. And I think that's what we all want because, we all want to go through life not facing adversity and not being challenged and all that and facing the negatives, but that's the only way we're going to grow. And I knew that something I want to do my post-Army career, I knew I needed something that was going to help me grow and try to, I guess, grow in a different lane, if you will. So let's go ahead and get started. So 4 reasons why I started this podcast. So I broke them down into 4 reasons. Could be many more. The first reason is post-retirement opportunity. My second one is skill development. The third reason why, telling the story. And the fourth one is to challenge myself, right? So let's start with the very first one, post-retirement opportunity. So I looked at many different things I want to do post-Army career. Now I've been retired almost, a little over a year. And I would tell you the first few months of retirement, like I stated in previous Nomad Cast, it was a challenge, a mental challenge, a physical challenge. Not, having that regimented daily activity like I was so used to for so many years. At the time, my son was still doing what they call the NTI, the non-traditional instruction with school, due to the COVID and everything. So I was engaged in that. And I probably was a little too engaged because I was trying to construct it like I would construct like daily briefings and commanding staffs and all this other stuff. And it was like, dude, you just going to school, so I kind of integrated myself probably a little bit too much. So I had to kind of peel back a little bit because I was still in master sergeant mode. I want things this way. And while you're using Google Docs, you should use freaking PowerPoint and all this, right? But I knew I needed an opportunity. I needed something to do. I got to the point where, I would pressure wash the garage after I retired just to be doing something. I would do it like 2 or 3 times a day. And I'm like, you know what? I need to do something else. What do I want to do? I've always been fascinated with people to be able to convey a message through a microphone, tell their story through a microphone. And at the time, I didn't have a microphone. I didn't know how to set none of this stuff up. So I looked at that as, you know what? I think this may be something I want to do. And so I had retired in November, and I didn't really start putting this into play until probably the summertime when I really started thinking about, okay, if I was to do a podcast, how would it work? How would I source everything to ensure I facilitated a proper message? More importantly, I needed to do something to kind of keep my mind going. Because, I go to the VA and they talk about, veterans, a lot of the reasons why a lot of veterans end up in, I want to say bad conditions is because they're not doing anything to help their mind grow. They kind of just stagnated. Oh, I served all these years. I'm just going to sit. And I probably did that for a little bit, kind of just, outside of helping my son, with school and doing the regular, husband and dad and household stuff. I kind of was just chilling. I kind of sat around and gained weight and I worked out a little bit, but I wasn't doing anything to really challenge me, right? And I knew post-retirement, I didn't have a desire, or I do not have the desire to work, to seek employment. So I need to do something that's going to keep me happy, keep me invigorated, keep me mentally stimulated by doing something. Because I'm one of them type of guys. I'm a regimented individual. I like doing things at a certain time. I expect production. I expect hard work. And I want to do that, but how can I do that when I don't have a formation? Well, I can't talk to soldiers. I can't go to training meetings. I can't go to command and staffs. I can't go to concept of support briefs. I can't prepare briefs. I can't prepare slides. What am I going to do to help me, to help with this regimented mindset that I want to facilitate daily? And the very things I complained about in the military is the things that I missed in the military. Like I mentioned, the briefings and all these different things. So I said, you know what? Let me start this podcast, and I have to figure out what is my intent for this podcast. Who am I trying to reach? Why is it important? Does anybody care? Does anybody even want to listen? And I knew that post-retirement, I knew a lot of my military relationships would go to the wayside. They talk about this when you go through your transition, when you're getting ready to retire. They say, you had this impact with all these soldiers and all these seniors and all these peers and subordinates and everybody. But then once you retire, those relationships go away. And I kind of understand. I didn't think about it then because I'm like, man, I've had influence on people. And I've helped people, change their lives and been a great mentor to people. I've been a mentee, I've took instruction. I've given instruction. Nah, these friendships are going to stay forever. But I noticed since I've been retired, a lot of that is true. And again, people live in an active duty life and you live in a retired life. It's the same instance when I was still active duty, and a lot of my peers, a lot of my seniors retired or they got out the military. Yeah, you could talk about, oh man, if you need anything, I'm here with you, da da da. But then once you retire or once you get out the military, those relationships, and it's not due to anybody's fault. It's just kind of the way it is. And it's kind of one of them things you got to kind of be in it to understand what I'm saying. But a lot of those relationships do kind of just go away because people, they got their own task. They got their own mission. They got their own thing. And you're not part of that circle in terms of, influencing. And now, there's still people that can hit you up every now and then, ask a question, a life question, or kind of reminisce about the good old days. But you will find that a lot of those relationships do kind of go away a little bit because you're not part of that circle. You're not, in those formations with them talking about life and all that. So I want to find a way I can still capture some of those conversations, still capture some of those negatives, capture some of those positives in a way where I knew I wouldn't be impeding on anybody's time. So I say, you know what? Let me just start a podcast. Let me just do this, and I can kind of get into the point where I'm telling the story and I'm doing these different things. But the key is anybody going to listen? And that's a challenge as well, because again, a lot of those relationships are gone. So now I had to realize, okay, post-retirement, which means I'm not in the Army no more, right? I'm retired. I got my own little thing going on, and the active duty got their own thing. What do I need to do to make sure that I'm being satisfied as a person throughout the day, taking care of a house, taking care of the family, and still doing things that I want to do in life? And so when I really just sat down and say, you know what, I'm going to start this podcast, and this is something I think, for one, is going to provide me that therapy I need. Because I talk to my VA folks all the time, and they say, find something that you can kind of grab onto and don't let it go. And so this is the first time, I will tell you, in a year where I feel like, you know what, this is something that I'm enjoying doing. It's providing me that regimented lifestyle. I do my research in the mornings before I hit the record button. I look at everything I'm going to talk about. I already got my schedule planned out for the week and what I'm talking about on the Monday, or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? I already come up with my cast segments, my title cards. So it's still allowing me to be able to plan, prepare, and execute the way I did in the Army, but not to the stress of in the Army, because now I don't have to worry about planning the exercise, planning a battlefield. I don't have to plan on none of these major military life-altering events. Now it's just, I come down to my man cave. I'm inside my office. It's a safe, secure environment, and I can just work. And then if I record in the morning, I can upload in the morning, or I can record in the afternoon, upload in the evening. There's no time on target. I'm setting my own conditions, if you will. So this has been the perfect post-retirement opportunity. It took a little while to kind of, get on this bike and say, you know what, this is something I want to do, but I'm glad I'm doing it. And I've said this on podcasts previous to this. This is my therapy. This is a way for me. Essentially, I'm the only one in my house because my wife is at work. My kids are working school. So I'm in this house and I'm pretty much just talking for 30, 40 minutes a day. Then I'm doing my editing and all that other stuff. But essentially, I'm in the house just talking, right? And it has been so therapeutic because there's so many ideas that's up in this brain housing group, so many stories in this brain housing group that I haven't told that I'm ready to get out. Again, this is my therapy. I'm loving it. This is a journey, that I want to continue to move on. So I'm excited. So I think that's that kind of sums up number one, my post-retirement opportunity. Being able to do something that stimulated me organically. And I feel great about that because it's allowing me to have that regimented schedule. And it's something I love doing. And anytime I'm off my schedule, now my PTSD starts kicking in. And why isn't it working like this? And it should be this way. And now I have total control over everything. I don't have to worry about planning an operation. And I still got to worry about 15 people executing this and 30 people executing this and making sure this is done, that they do this. It's all me now. I can touch everything without the stress of worrying about is someone else, doing their part. So this has been a perfect post-retirement opportunity. My second one is skill development. Now, for years, in the military, especially when you get up in the senior ranks, the NCO ranks, you have to have the ability and the capability to speak in front of large groups of people. And a lot of times you're speaking in front of people that know more than you, which can be a challenge because now you can't wiggle your way out of something because there's always somebody want to call you out. So one thing I will say about the military, I've never been a shy person. I've always been vocal with my chords. So I never had a problem speaking in public. But I knew I needed to enhance my skills speaking through a microphone. And it's different because when you speaking in front of a formation, you got 200-300 people and they're listening to your every word. They're going to action your every word. And here, I tell people, hey, subscribe, click the link. And it's like, all right. It's just different. So it's really me understanding what it's like to speak. And sometimes it's like, it's not being heard. I know it's being heard, but I'm just speaking from a military standpoint where you speak, I need you to execute, and it's done. And here you say, hey, I need you to like and subscribe. And people are like, all right, on to the next video. So that's a challenge in itself, right? But the biggest thing about the skill development is teaching me things that I didn't know, the backstory, I guess the background of recording a podcast. Because a lot of people, for the people that don't do this, they think it's just hit record. Well, it's a lot to it. You're planning your notes. So that's, I got all these stories I have archived in my brain. I'm putting it to paper because all my show notes, I keep a notebook on all my show notes, everything that I'm going to talk about each day down to the letter, right? And I go over my show notes a night prior to the show and also the day of. So that's developing a skill, right? That I didn't know I had in the civilian terms because everything I'm writing down, I'm trying to capture every word, every paragraph, trying to capture it via a microphone by telling the story, by giving a life lesson, right? Doing a review or whatever I'm talking about. Now, as it relates to skills, being able to talk on this microphone, what angle should I sit at the microphone? Should I sit in front of the microphone, right? All those things I'm still learning. And it's all the things I've always wanted to do because it's a different skill set than just, I'm going to talk like this all day long. No, it's a certain skill that, I look at all the so-called experts on YouTube. I won't say the so-called experts, but the folks on YouTube, and I look at how they sit, how they conduct, how's their lighting. Now I've got to the point where I bought studio lights, softbox lights, as they call them. And I'm learning how to set up a studio to get the proper lighting with the editing piece. For years, I didn't know how people could make videos and have overlays spread across the video. I'm like, how are they doing this? How they can go from one scene to another? So I find myself, I've downloaded all these editing tools and now I'm learning how to edit because I edit my own stuff. A lot of people can make recordings and they send it to a third-party company and they do all the editing. I do all the editing myself. So that's a skill that I'm developing that I didn't even know was a part of it. Yeah, I knew, you edit stuff, but I didn't know it was going to be this much. So, I'm doing the editing and making sure my color grade is right, making sure the sound, the audio. I've went through 4 microphones before I purchased this one. This is the Shure MV7, which is like one of the top of the line microphones, right? I know you have your Yetis and all those, but I knew this was going to enhance my product if I had a product that people know about. Using the Logitech, the webcam. Eventually, I'm going to migrate and go to an actual DSLR camera, which I have one. But now, using this camera, I'm learning how to take photos and how to make videos. And eventually, I'm going to start using this. But again, this is it's all about my skills. How am I developing these skills? All the skills I had in the military, I can apply some of those to this podcast. Again, just going back to the editing, I don't know, you can make the transitions and then doing your vignettes and how should the screen look and making the transitions, and you can put stuff on the daggone track and, split the track and trim the track. And I didn't know any of that stuff. So I'm just like fascinated by the editing piece, and it can be very frustrating, especially when I use sometimes Adobe. It just keep locking up. So I have other ones I use like Shotcut. I use Adobe. I use Windows. There's a couple other ones I use, but that's a skill that I'm growing in. I'm no expert, trust and believe, but I find it's more to it than just hitting the record, right? And that's a skill that I'm learning and that I'm growing. And I'm very excited what the future is going to bring. So I know that's kind of elongated, but I think the second reason, like I talk about, skill development. I'm developing the skill to be able to communicate my message through a microphone versus communicating my message in front of a large audience, because I have control over that audience, because I can see that audience. I can see that person, that soldier getting mad because I'm telling them we got formation at 2 a.m. or whatever it is. Here, I can't see the results. I can't see the emotions. I can't see the satisfaction. I can't see why is he talking about that? So that's a skill where I'm learning mentally how to be able to read people without seeing people. The third one is telling a story. I've been blessed, I will say, with the ability to tell a story. I love stories, and I love hearing stories from people. And I talked about this on a few podcasts ago. When I was younger, I used to put my ear up to the radio and listen to people just talking. I've always been fascinated with people talking, especially with something I'm very interested in. And to be able to tell my story from a knucklehead growing up in Detroit, going to elementary school, middle school, high school, going to the Marines, getting married, having children, going to the Army, doing all these things, getting degrees and making it up through the ranks and all that, and then culminating with a retirement. There's so many stories that I have, and even like through my house throughout the day, I just tell a story and my kids like, oh God, here go another one. But I've always found it fascinating with storytelling. I've always been fascinated with storytellers that can keep you engaged, to keep you listening, to keep yourself focused on what they're talking about. Because that's a hard thing to do, is to keep someone engaged. Because a lot of times people don't really want to hear your story, because you're telling it from your lens. You're telling it from your angle. And so what I try to do with my storytelling, a lot of people wasn't there when all this was going on. But I still try to tell it where you feel like you were there, if that makes sense. It's almost like when you read an autobiography, like just say if I read a Colin Powell autobiography, I wasn't there when he was going through his trials and tribulations, getting promoted to general and the chief of staff of everything. But the way the story is told is like you was walking hand in hand. And I think that's what I'm trying to do, is tell the story where it's like we're walking there together, right? If that makes sense. And I know with my stories, I can kind of go on, and I think I dig sometimes too deep when I'm telling the story, but I want people to understand the reason of the thinking of it, the reasons why this took place. This is what I was wearing. This is the situation I was in. Was it fun? Was it negative? Was it positive? Did I learn anything from it? What did I gain from it? How can I be a testimony to other people with the test I went through? So that's what it's all about with telling the story. And I think that's probably why I picked it as number 3, because that's, at the end of the day, this is all I want. I want to tell the story of the negatives in my life. I want to tell the stories of the positives in my life. And how can that help someone? Where to the point where someone can listen to this Nomad cast and then like, oh man, I didn't think of it that way. Oh man, I remember I went through this. At the end of the day, we all want to tell a story that's relatable to others, or it may be something where a family member has done this. And I know 90% of my stories are military based. I mean, it is what it is. That's been, half my life. So I have to tell those stories because that's my story, right? So that's my telling the story. And the last one is challenging myself. And I think you can wrap all three of those into one, with challenging myself. I knew with all my stories and everything that I'm talking about, I'm putting myself out there on Front Street, as we used to say. I don't know if the younger folks are still saying that, but I put myself out there on Front Street with telling my stories and being vulnerable, right? Being vulnerable with my stories, being transparent, where it's easy for someone to come in the comments and judge me. Oh, why was you like this? Oh, that didn't happen. Oh, this and that and the third. So I don't have a problem with that. I've never been the type of person to shy away from negative comments. I've never been the type of person to shy away from adversity. I'm a head-on type dude. I grow through it, I bust through it, and we see what happened. What's the end result? But I knew this was a perfect opportunity to challenge myself and getting this story out and prepping my material and make sure visually I looked appealing in terms of lighting and all that. And this has been a great challenge. I'm enjoying it. And so it's been some days where I'm like, man, why am I even doing this? I should just take a nap all day. But I've been challenged with this Nomad Cast because now I feel guilty if I don't record. Now I know I don't record on Fridays because I usually kind of take that day to kind of, see what the analytics is and everything from YouTube and all the audio sites. But I look at this and I tell myself, I think I'm doing something great because people out there telling stories that's not being heard. And if I continue to do this, someone's going to hear my story. Someone's going to like this story. And more importantly, someone's going to learn from this story, for everything that I'm doing here. And I think to me, that is a great challenge. And that's an opportunity I'm not willing to give up at this point. So I don't know how long I'm going to do this. But for right now, at this moment, I'm enjoying it. And that's a challenge to continue to, no matter what you got to go do during the day, all these VA appointments, if I got to go to the store, it is a challenge sometimes to come down here with the material and record because, I'm relying on internet. I'm relying on a computer. I'm relying on the speaker. I'm relying on my monitors. What happens if I don't feel well? What happens if the monitor decides it doesn't want to work? What happens if all the websites crash? What happens if the internet crashes? So I'm relying on that. And that's a challenge in itself. It's just like we all go through these challenges. Not trying to make this more than what people are really going through, but just in the context of podcasting, this has been, I can't rank this as with my other challenges in life because other ones was, it was different. But post-retirement, this has probably been one of the biggest challenges to be able to talk about my story, to be transparent, like I stated before, and trying to be that ray of hope for somebody. I just want someone, when they listen to this Nomad Cast, the 30, 40 minutes, however long the episodes are, the biggest takeaway is, I didn't think of it that way. Oh man, I remember that. If I can get someone to say, I didn't think of it that way, that's perfect for me. Or if I tell a story and someone is inspired by the story, that's a challenge to be able to do that. So when I talk about all these things I just mentioned, I think to surmise everything, I'm challenging myself. And this is every day is a challenge. Instead of just, saying stuff and just going through the motions, I hope you guys see the work that's being, that's involved with this. And because I tell you, there's some times where it can get stressful. You record and then YouTube is slow and you're doing all the edits and the color's not right and the audio's not right and the microphone. So there's so many things I've had to learn. Again, going back to skill development, learning how I can't have other things on in my office while the microphone's on because it picks up an echo. So there's been times I'm like, man, why is there echo? So just figuring little things out. And that's challenging yourself, get to the point where you're not becoming an expert, but you're starting to figure things out quickly rather than going through the pain of, taking days to figure something out. So this is definitely something I'm loving. I'm looking forward to as we move on. Initially, what I said, I want to do this for a year just to kind of see how it looks, see how the numbers look, because that's going to define a lot of this as well. Yeah, man. So this is fun. I kind of want to just, again, be transparent here, talking on the Tuesday, talking about the reasons why I started this podcast. Again, the reason number one was a post-retirement opportunity. The second one was skill development. The third was I just want to tell a story. And four, just challenging myself. Every day is a challenge, man. So I'm loving it. And yeah, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep going because this is fun. It's work involved, as I already stated. But this is fun, man, to be able to kind of just come down here and do my work. And one thing I'm thankful that we have the resources to purchase microphones, to purchase the cameras and all this freaking studio lighting and all this other stuff to be able to enhance this message, to be able to facilitate this message, and more importantly, doing all that so you can remember the message. And I think that has to be probably the biggest takeaway. Did someone remember? Did someone, not just like it, but did they remember what was being talked about here on the podcast, on the Nomadcast? I keep saying podcast, but and one thing I want to say before I let you guys go, the reason I named it Trust and Believe, because people know me in the military, especially as I moved up to E7 to E8. I used to always say trust and believe, trust and believe. So I was like, why not freaking just make it the Trust and Believe? Originally it was going to be the Trust and Believe podcast, but I was like, no, because everyone, that's like the common nomenclature, podcast. Nomad, we've been moving around all these years because that's the definition of a nomad. And nomad is my first name spelled backwards. So it could have been the Trust and Believe Damon cast, but I like the Trust and Believe Nomad cast. It's just something about that. So again, I just continue to hope this channel grows. I'm going to continue to put out the best content that I can Monday through Thursdays. And let's just see where it goes, man. Thank you guys for being on the ride with me. Some of the rides are bumpy. Some of the rides are smooth. Sometimes we get on the interstate. Sometimes we get on the dirt road. Sometimes the car doesn't have a loud engine. Sometimes the engine is loud. So again, as long as you guys enjoying it, enjoying the content, and you long for the ride, I continue to do what I need to do to facilitate this messaging, get this message across so we all can learn, not just y'all, but me as well. Because I learn every day doing this. Even like with yesterday with the whole daylight savings time. I didn't even know the origin was in Canada and the Germans used it. I thought it was about the farmer. So it's a learning, it's a teaching tool. And I'm definitely an advocate of learning. I'm definitely an advocate of teaching. So I appreciate everything that you guys are doing, not only in your lives, but people that you're influencing as well, because I'm definitely influenced by y'all. So appreciate it. So tomorrow is going to be Way Back Wednesday. So I'm going to tell a story about Way Back Wednesday, and then we'll keep on keeping on. So appreciate everything. Be safe, y'all. Be sound. Again, I hope today is better than your yesterday, right? Stay focused, stay positive, continue to bring the energy and do the things you need to do to be successful. Peace.